I didn't think it could have been done, but they made Ranger even worse to play now. What an abysmal design. Good grief. All that playtesting, and this is what you came up with. Hey guys, did you hear that Rangers suck? That's what the internet says, and the internet is never wrong. But is the Ranger really the great failure of OneD&D? And if it is, can we fix it? Part 1. What's wrong with your Ranger? So we all know what a Ranger is. It's Fellowship of the Ring era Aragorn, a warrior of the wilds. It's basically half a druid, half a fighter combined, like how the Paladin is half fighter, half cleric. The 2014 Ranger worked on that philosophy, and the woodsman flavor was poured in with features like natural explorer and favored enemy. There was one problem though. Those features suck. Advantage on one type of check to track one type of enemy, buffs to exploration that 99% of playgroups ignore when playing. Paladins are getting divine smite, and you are getting the ability to find twice as much food when you forage. Okay. Then Tasha's Cauldron came out and gave us some upgrades, and they were better. We got expertise in a couple of skills, and Favored Foe. Favored Foe works like a mini Hunter's Mark, which was nice, except we already have Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark is the Ranger spell. It takes a bonus action to cast, it marks a creature with no saving throw, and every time you hit that creature with an attack, it takes an additional 1d6 damage. It requires concentration, and it's not bad as a first level spell in theory. In fact, it's so good that they made it twice. Hunter's Mark is almost a carbon copy of the Hex spell, which anyone in the 2014 rules can grab via the Magic Initiate feat. So the stuff that sets Rangers apart is either weak or it's Hunter's Mark, and Hunter's Mark is just a reskin of a spell that anyone can have, so it's not really setting Rangers apart. The remaining Ranger exclusive features are haphazard at best. Hide as a bonus action at level 14, ignore non-magical difficult terrain. 2014 Rangers were a little underpowered, but much worse, they weren't mechanically exciting. I don't want to labor this point too hard, but compare them to Paladins. When you think of a Paladin, you think of divine smites and lay on hands and channel divinity and an aura of protection. We're talking huge critical hits and crippling anxiety if you ever have to fight anyone more than 10 feet away. That is what the Paladin is. We all know what a Paladin is. Even Ranger subclasses struggle for identity. Tell me if you've heard this one before. Level 3, you get a feature that adds between 1d4 to 1d8 damage on one hit per turn. At level 15, you get a feature that costs a reaction and in some way reduces incoming damage. I've just described like 6 Ranger subclasses. And the other 2 Ranger subclasses are just, what if I had a pet dog or dragon? This was the Ranger's big problem. Ironically, the class that can never get lost has no sense of mechanical direction. But it's okay, because they fixed it, right?
And before you stands an ancient black dragon! DM, that is an upside-down Skeeter's vegan barbecue chipotle sauce bottle. No, it's a black dragon, and it's scary. The last beholder we fought was just a Pringles can. Can't we get some actual minis for once? Well, I'm sorry, but I don't have a 3D printer to print off minis for every expansion we play. Well, what if we went to Dragon Trapper's Lodge? Dragon Trapper's Lodge?
Dragon Trapper's Lodge are making stunningly beautiful models for your campaigns, but more than that, they're now creating epic bundles that cater for every encounter in iconic D&D campaigns, like the Lost Mines of Phandelver and Stormwreck Isle, with more coming, including Icespire Peak. Unique models for bosses, mobs, and NPCs, all beautifully detailed and posed and to scale, organized for each chapter, all ready to roll for your games. It is the ultimate way to play through these iconic adventures. The minis are made from high quality, flexible, and durable resin, so they'll survive heavy use, and they'll even ship the models right to you. You can also get 15% off everything using code NICESHORTS. That's 15% off the best minis on the market delivered right to your door. And I really gotta stress, they have minis for everything, from named bosses like King Groll to individual minions, all organized for effortless use. Don't forget to grab 15% off everything using the code NICESHORTS, link in description. Part 2. OneD&D to the rescue? Fear not, adventurers, OneD&D is here, and it's the chance to facelift the Ranger to the moon, a chance to give them some direction. And it did. The problem was, that direction was backwards. They went all in on Hunter's Mark. Level 1, the Ranger can now cast Hunter's Mark a couple of times per long rest without a spell slot. Nice. The next few levels are very similar to Tasha's version of the Ranger, so there's nothing revolutionary here, but then we start seeing new stuff creep in. Level 13, taking damage can't break your concentration on Hunter's Mark. Okay, kind of worthless if you're not concentrating on Hunter's Mark, but sure. Level 17, you have advantage on attack rolls against the target of your Hunter's Mark. Yikes, we're level 17 and we're relying on a first level spell slot to access our late game features. Level 20, your Hunter's Mark damage increases from a D6 to a D10. Excuse me for a second. Yeah, that's not a very good feature. Okay, this has been memed a lot, but let's just call a spade a spade. This capstone feature is garbage. It is utter trash. It works out at a +2 damage on average per attack against only the target of your Hunter's Mark. Meanwhile, barbarians and monks are getting +2 to the attacks and damage of their every single attack, and +2 to a couple of saving throws and a bunch of skills. I don't know how this happened. How are we supposed to escape into a fantasy world where we forget about our horrible, horrible lives when they give us crap like this? But the 2024 Ranger has issues deeper than some weak features. They could upgrade the damage of Hunter's Mark to 2d10 per hit, and it wouldn't solve the problem. The problem is, Hunter's Mark is a bad spell to build an entire class around. Hunter's Mark is concentration, so if you want to use any of your late game features, you can't concentrate on anything else. It's also a bonus action to cast, and if the creature you've got it on dies, you need to use another bonus action to move the mark to somebody else. That means any build in the game that needs its bonus action for anything at all is shot in the leg trying to play a ranger. Getting your companion to attack if you're a Beastmaster or a Drake Warden requires your bonus action. So does your Fey Teleport. So does your 14th level feature to turn invisible. You can't even dual wield unless you're using a Nick weapon, which basically limits you to the dagger. And we're supposed to be half fighter, half druid, but we can't cast a bunch of spells. Spike Growth, Polymorph, Conjure minor elementals. There's tons of great things that you simply cannot do if you want to gain any benefit from your late class features and a bunch of subclass features, because the new subclasses all revolve around Hunter's Mark as well. And finally, if a class is going to revolve around one feature, make that feature cool. Something like Meta Magic, or Rage, or Divine Smites, not just a reskin of Hex. Part 3. But do they actually suck? Yes. Well, okay, yes, but not in the way a lot of people think. I'm not saying you can't make a powerful and fun Ranger build. People online are probably too hard on the Ranger. You can absolutely have fun, it's just that the type of builds you can make are way more limited than they should be. And in the Ranger's defense, the very worst of it comes later in the game. In the early game, up to maybe level 8, a lot of the problems don't come to the fore, especially if you pick a subclass that doesn't rely on its bonus action. We're not pooping on the Ranger for no reason. You don't have to hate a class to criticize it. I actually love the Ranger. I want there to be more ways for people to play Rangers. Sadly, with these rules you can't. Happily, we don't have to pay attention to Wizards of the Coast. They don't play at our tables. What are they gonna do if we tweak a few things to improve the class? Send thugs round to our house to intimidate our families and reduce our wife to tears? I doubt that very much. Part 4. Let's fix it. Let's start with a very simple and straightforward fix that preserves the identity of the 2025 Ranger. We'll call it the D&D Shorts Revived Ranger 2025 Awesome. All we're going to do is introduce two new features, Hunter's Instinct and Hunter's Mind. Hunter's Instinct is a 3rd level feature that says, when a creature marked with your Hunter's Mark drops to 0 hit points or dies before the spell ends, you can take a reaction to move the mark to another creature you can see within 90 feet. Boom! Now you only need to sacrifice one bonus action per combat encounter to get your Hunter's Mark going, as long as you don't drop concentration on it. You can use your reaction to move it around, letting you use your your bonus action to do things, like command your companion to attack as a Beastmaster Ranger. Suddenly, most Ranger subclasses actually work, and you can do other cool things like multiclassing Ranger and Monk, or any build you can dream up that requires a bonus action. Hunter's Mind is a 9th level feature that says, when you cast Hunter's Mark with your favored enemy feature, it doesn't require concentration and lasts until the end of its full duration, or until you choose to end it, no action required. Favored Enemy is your 1st level feature that lets you cast Hunter's Mark without a spell slot. This is essentially 2 castings of Hunter's Mark per day that don't require concentration. And it arrives at level 9, just in time for your 3rd level Ranger spells. I know a lot of people want this earlier, but trust me, free concentration on Hunter's Mark is really good. You want this at level 9, you don't want people to grab this for whatever build they want by dipping into Ranger. With the introduction of Hunter's Mind, we can also change the Relentless Hunter feature at level 13, because we're no longer going to be concentrating on Hunter's Mark all the time. While an enemy is marked by your Hunter's Mark, you have advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration on your Ranger spells. Now you have improved concentration on any Ranger spell, including Hunter's Mark, and you're encouraged to use it while concentrating on something else. Synergy. Roll with these changes and you have mechanically a great class. It's not crazy overpowered, it's just solid. In fact, no, sorry, we're not done. We can't leave that level 20 feature like that. We're gonna change it. It's now called Champion of the Wilds, and it says, your Constitution and Wisdom scores increase by 4 to a maximum of 25. You might be wondering, why not Dexterity and Wisdom? And the answer is because some Rangers prioritize strength, and we don't want to funnel people into certain types of builds. Also, a high toughness, grizzled warrior of the Wilds makes total sense to me. However, it does kind of still have a problem. Rangers are still lacking that mechanical sparkle. They don't have something like Smites or Action Surge, one of those unique features to really grab you by the balls and pull you into the game. To give them that, we'd need a bigger, really kick-ass transformation. And luckily, there is one. Part 5, Laserllama to the rescue. So Laserllama is a famous homebrew creator who I like for 3 reasons. 1, funny name. Classic. 2, they released tons of stuff for free, and 3, they fixed the Ranger back in 2022, and it slaps. It is everything the OneD&D Ranger wishes it could be, except of course, it's free. The class kicks off with the standard Ranger stuff. You get a fighting style at level 1, not level 2, and you get wild expertise, which is just expertise. Like the 2014 Ranger, you don't get your spellcasting until level 2, but what you do get at level 1 is an entirely new feature. Knacks. Knacks are unique to the Ranger, and it's the sparkly bit of design that Rangers are missing. It's the thing you can point to and say, yeah, Ranger, the class with the knacks. You start with 1 known knack, and you learn more as you level up, as shown in the revised Ranger table. You have 10 known knacks by level 20. Knacks are essentially little bits of primal knowledge, kind of mini feats that enhance your build. For example, there's the Alpine Adept knack, which gives you a 30-foot climbing speed and lets you use a reaction to reduce any fall damage you take. Aquatic Adept gives you a swim speed and lets you hold your breath for up to an hour underwater. They even worked the old favored foe feature into a knack, so if you want that ability to track a certain type of enemy, you can grab it at minimal cost. Some more powerful knacks have prerequisite levels, like some Warlock invocations have. For example, the Survivor 1 knack requires that you be a level 6 Ranger before you can take it, and it gives you temporary hit points equal to your Constitution modifier as a bonus action. Knacks also work like mini skill trees. Once you've learned the Survivor 1 knack, you're eligible to take Survivor 2 and Survivor 3. Essentially, they turn the Ranger into possibly the most customizable class in the game, which feels right on brand for a Ranger, someone who can kind of handle and adapt to anything. And it's all tied into the flavor of this primal warrior. It's exactly what the Ranger needed: mechanical direction and identity. Laserllama's Ranger also fixes the problem with Tasha's favored foe feature, which was basically just Hunter's Mark, but it does 1d4. This This one is a non-concentration bonus action effect that similarly lets you mark a creature. Then, when you make a check to track that creature, you roll your quarry die and add it to the result. And when you attack that creature, you roll your quarry die and add the result to your damage. Your quarry die starts at a d4, but it scales across the game, like the monk's martial arts do. So you have that Hunter's Mark flavor. It doesn't restrict you by requiring concentration, and it grows across the game. It is worse than Hunter's Mark in the sense that once you knock out a creature, you can't use a bonus action to swap it to someone else. You have to use the feature again for every single target. You get a number of uses per long rest equal to your wisdom modifier, and yes, it is pretty heavy on the old bonus action, but when it's a free, non-concentration effect, that is a lot more tolerable. Level 5, you get extra attack, and you get another feature that the 2024 Ranger would attempt 2 years after this one was published. Feral Senses is a simple buff to your Ranger's Quarry. Now you can't have disadvantage on attack rolls against the creature you've marked. Simple and small, but at level 18, that buff extends to all creatures, not just ones that you've marked. From 11th level, you regain all uses of your Ranger's Quarry upon a short or long rest, so you'll never be running out at that point, and at level 20, you get something very interesting. Foe Slayer is the revised Ranger's Capstone, which says, whenever you hit a target marked with your Ranger's Quarry, you can end the mark to cause that attack to deal maximum possible damage instead of rolling. You burn the resource for a big hit, especially powerful if you've got something like a Flame Tongue weapon, which adds extra dice to the damage. But then, if that attack reduces an enemy to 50 hit points or fewer, they need to succeed on a Constitution save, and if they fail, they fall straight to 0. It's the ultimate killing blow. I love this flavor. It's not crazy strong, honestly. Generally, I prefer my simple consistency boosters over cute gimmicks like this, but you can't deny it is going to be so much fun when you get this off. Power word kill on a stick. Sign me up. And there you have 2 fixes for the Ranger, no matter what edition you're playing or how far you want to push the class. I'll link both my revised Ranger and Laserllama's down below. There's a lot more to his that I didn't cover, all for free, including a bunch of knacks and some new subclasses too. But if you're into epic content to upgrade your games, and you want to help a lonesome traveler survive the world of YouTube algorithms, you can support this channel and get tons of expansions to the game on the D&D Shorts Patreon. I've linked that below as well. This month's subclass is a Warlock, where your patron is the Tarrasque. It is awesome. Also remember to like and subscribe, check out other videos on the channel, and yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you next time.